So in the last video we did GET requests creating a Python API with Flask. And if you didn't see that first video, I recommend watching that before this. This is like part 2. And today we're going to do post requests. So post is just pretty much the opposite of GET. Instead of getting information when you call an API, you're giving the backend information of your own. So before we did, well, let's go ahead and just run this actually, and just to kind of jog our memory of what happened. So we have this route called API, and it can take in an argument with the argument being console. And if you remember correctly, let's bring in Postman. I still have some from last time. So it's just our local host, port 5000. And then /API, which is the route, right? /API. And then we start our query string. So question mark console is equal to PS4. And if we run that, we get the only PS4 game in our list of dictionary objects, right? So instead of that, why don't we create another route where we can send it data? Like this. So we change this to post, and then we could do something like console equals PS4, and what was the other thing? Console and then name, and name is equal to what games did we do? We did Overwatch, Red Dead Redemption, Call of Duty. So let's do something like Dark Souls or something like that, right? And you can see down here we got the query parameters already filled in for us because it notices that we have 2 in our query string. So how can we do that in code? How can we send it to the Python API? Well, we got to create another route if we don't want to use the API, or we can actually use the same one and check if there's any arguments, and it would be a little more complicated maybe. And then if we did it through JSON, like we sent a JSON object, it might be a little more easier. But right now I'm just going to start by doing it through a query string. So let's create another route, and let's make its route, let's see, something like save. I don't know. So we're saving the game, all right? And then methods, and it's going to be equal to, whoops, here we go. Brandon can't type as usual. Methods is going to be equal to post, all in capital, instead of get. We're posting. Now we have to give some kind of definition. So save game. Okay. And here we kind of do, what we did before. We can get the request arguments, and we can store in some kind of variable. And then if we wanted to store it somewhere, we could then insert that into our database, which part 3, I'm going to hook up a database to this API, and we will get that running. But right now we don't have a database, so I'm just going to take in the information and kind of read it back to the user. So right now, let's just make the same as before. Console is equal to request.args. And then, if you remember, it was called console. Right, the parameter. So console, and it's going to grab that value. Okay, so we have console, and then the other one was name. So it's pretty much going to be the same, except we're going to get the name value. Okay. Cool. And now, if we want, we can just create a dictionary object. So let's call it dict, and that's going to equal name. Whoops, this is going to be in quotes. Name, which its value is the name variable. So this is explicitly saying name, and then we give it the name variable as the value. And then the key for this is going to be console. And then the value is going to be the value of the console variable. So we create this little dictionary object, and now we're just going to give it back to the user. So we can return JSONify of dict, just to ensure that, hey, we got the information, and you can verify that it looks good for now. So yeah, that looks good to me. Let's go ahead. I think I hit save, so when you're in debugger, it automatically, if there are changes, it automatically restarts the localhost. So I think we are good to go. We'll find out here in a second. But let's go ahead and send the request. And we get this method not allowed. Oh, yeah, because it's a different route. So what did we name this route? Save? Yeah. So instead of API, it's called save. Now we try it. There we go. Console is equal to PS4 and name is equal to Dark Souls in this JSON object. Pretty cool. Now what if we wanted to send a JSON object just like this? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it in Notepad. Not Potpad. I'm going to put this in Notepad just to keep the example. And what if we want to send it a whole JSON object instead of, having this query string in the URL? We can do it that way as well. So let's create another one. Let's say this one's going to be the switch. And the game is going to be, what's that game everyone likes? Animal Crossing. You see, I sold my Switch. And maybe I shouldn't have, just so I could play this game. Because I used to play Animal Crossing on the Wii, but nonetheless, it's not important. So instead of having it in the query string in Postman, we are going to throw it into this body and make sure JSON is selected here and then raw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, whatever that's from. I must have been trying something out. And we're going to copy this and throw it into here. So here's the JSON object that we created. It's got the keys and the values, and we made it switch in Animal Crossing. So we're not going to put anything in the query string. All right, we're just going to put it in this JSON object and send it along with our request. Okay, so it's going to be a little different than normal. So let's kind of copy this and make another route just for clarity's sake, and save. And this one's going to be called save JSON. Okay. So instead of request.args, we're not going to use that because we don't have anything in the query string. Rather, we're going to create some kind of variable. I'm going to name mine data and set it equal to request.get JSON. So that's going to grab the JSON object that we send along. So it's going to grab this. And now we can kind of query that. So this is going to be data console. Whoops. And then data name instead of request args. Just like that. Right? So we're getting JSON data. We're putting that into this data variable. And then we're going to say, okay, give me the value for the console in that JSON, and then give me the value for the name in that JSON. And then, like before, we'll make the same with just the save, where we make some kind of dictionary and we send it back. Okay, I think it's saved. I think it's running again. Kind of hard to tell. What is this mad about? Save JSON. View function mapping is overriding existing endpoint function. Save game. Oh, yeah. We need to make this different. Save JSON. How about that? Oh, it quit, so we got to rerun it. Okay. Looks like it's good. No errors now. We had the same definition as this one when I copied it. I just changed the route. I didn't change the function. So that's why I was kind of mad. Okay, everything looks good. We have our JSON object here, in the body of the request, and we made it raw and JSON just to specify. And then if everything goes well, when I change this to save JSON, right, because that's what we're going to call, we should see this coming back to us down here. So let's go ahead and see if this works. There you go. You can see that it got our JSON object and it created pretty much the exact same thing and sent it back to us. So those are two ways that you can send data in a GET, or not a GET, a POST request. You can either do it through the query string, like we first showed with the question mark and the different variables, or you can do it through a JSON object. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video. The next one we're going to set up, I'm thinking a SQLite database, just because it might be a little bit easier with Python, and we can save it to that. And then we can also get information from that database. So we'll kind of put all of our last two videos, our last two lessons together, and throw in a database in the mix, like you would in the real world, right? So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one.